Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Aaron and Stockton from ABC NLP Mastery, and you're listening to a Passion to Win podcast. Today is our second episode. We're going to be talking about why NLP and what the heck is it? What is NLP? So, Aaron, why don't you start us off there? What is NLP?
So NLP is short for neuro linguistic programming. And if I take neuro, Stockton, why don't you take linguistics, and then I'll close up with the programming. So we
Okay,
get a brief overview of what it really is. Is that good with you?
good with me?
Cool. So neuro is the neurology of the body, and its connection with the mind, specifically the conscious and unconscious mind. Everything that we do is relegated to the unconscious mind and stored. So every detail of every area of every aspect of your life is stored, and we load those things and, how do you say, categorize those things in a file system that we don't consciously think about. And they have these things, these life events, they have to come in through our neurology, right? So everything about your life's experience is coded in this neurology of the things that you see, the things that you hear, the things that you feel, and the things that you smell, like popcorn at the movies. And then the
And
gustatory,
taste.
taste. The way that your favorite, whatever it is, tastes, you know? And so that's really what the neuro is understanding the process through which experience is processed through the five senses.
Right. And the linguistic side of things, that's where we give those experiences meaning and how we use them to communicate with each other and ourselves. Um, I find this kind of a funny thing to think about when I am thinking about what to say next. They're not really thoughts or a dialogue that appears in my mind. It it's more of me describing the picture that I'm seeing in my head. And I've talked to people who, you know, have someone else talking to them and they'll say what they say, this higher version of themselves. And however you do it is perfectly okay. But I think for the general theme is that we give language to describe these experiences, whether we're recalling a memory or we're just trying to break down what we're observing here in the moment. We give words and language as a way to be able to communicate and understand what we're experiencing.
So linguistically, um, pictures, they have details, and the language would be the language that you use to describe those pictures. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, and then what about the sounds? Some people are set with sound is their primary representational system, and we'll learn about that stuff later. And then some people
Right.
like feelings, and some people like to see things, and even the self-talk that we go into. So this is all understanding that conscious unconscious use of language
Right.
and how it is really defining our world.
Yeah,
And
that's
that goes.
that's another thing that's important to say too. Everyone does this differently, and you'll notice it in their language as well. I've talked to a lot of people who say, "I feel like this," and they're not thinking about what they're saying. They're describing the way that they're feeling. I feel like things are just this way. I feel like we should do this. They have a feeling, and that feeling becomes language. And for me, I just bring me up as an example. I more see a picture, a movie in front of me, and I'm describing what's happening on screen, and that's how I form my sentences or how I tell my stories.
And someone might say that that rings true to them, and that I just love the way that the sound of the waves crash against the shore, and the seagull that flies by in between the crashing of the waves, and especially at like 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or even midnight when it's really still and quiet out there. And so, the language that we use, defines our reality. And that gets into the programming. And the programming is the ability to discover and utilize these programs that we ourselves are running, and how that affects our communication with ourselves and others. In understanding these neurological systems, we can begin to achieve specific desired outcomes and results. So in other words, NLP is how to use the conscious use of language with the mind to consistently achieve our specific desired outcomes.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we want to talk about what is NLP. We've kind of broken down the neuro-linguistic, the programming side of things, but what is it really?
Well,
so NLP,
go ahead.
okay, NLP it's an attitude. It's a curiosity.
Well, for us, it's an attitude.
For us, it's an attitude.
Yeah.
For a practitioner of NLP, it's an attitude to adopt. It's a willingness to experiment as well.
Yes.
Right. And having these experiments is a useful tool. And I'll give an example. I've talked to a client before who, she just really hated this behavior that her husband kept doing. She really hated that he would come home from work and just get glued to the TV.
Not that
right?
anybody out there does that.
And she was describing to me in depth how annoying this was, how angry it made her. And, I could have just said, yeah, that sounds really annoying. I would hate if the person I love just came home and didn't watch the TV or just sat down and watched TV. And as an experiment, I decided not to react that way. I was curious why this made her so upset, because I personally don't have that problem. I don't have a spouse that comes home and watches TV. So I was curious to understand why this is a problem for her. And so with asking some questions, I was able to find out, well, what does that behavior mean to you? Well, it means that he doesn't care about me. He would rather do something than spend time with me. He'd rather just sit there and be lazy and pushed it all onto him. And then a further step of curiosity, I wanted to know, well, how does that make you feel? What emotion does that make you feel? Well, I feel lonely. I feel sad.
So then we're starting to get the deep structure of what's really going on with her, and we're starting to break down the use of language now to understand what she's really experiencing, and it takes the blame off of her husband and puts the experience back on her. So now she's got resources and is recognizing and cognizant of what it is that she's allowing to affect her.
Right. And now she can choose whether or not she wants to feel lonely or sad, when she thought the problem was with her husband.
Right. She can just go sit on her husband's lap and see if anything changes.
Exactly. But this demonstrates the attitude of curiosity and a willingness to experiment. Because a lot of times people say things like this all the time, something that's bothering them or something that they don't like about the world, or some behavior that someone keeps doing to them that is the worst thing ever. And a lot of times we just accept it and, say, oh yeah, my husband does the same thing. It is so annoying. Why are men like this? Why are they so lazy?
Where does it get you? Where does it get you?
It gets you nowhere.
Right.
with my curiosity, it brought me to an understanding of what I was really experiencing, which was the loneliness and sadness. And now that I know what the real problem is, do I want to do something different? Do I want something different?
Right. So that's where a methodology of utilizing NLP comes into practice. One of the cool things about NLP is modeling, and that's how NLP was created. It took the conscious, detailed work of Virginia Satir, who had a magical way of getting results with her clients by drilling down to the specifics of the events, kind of like you just did with, my husband is this behavior. And well, it might not be the best behavior. It is serving a purpose for him. Even if you don't like it, that's his world. And so if you're going to respect his model of the world, just a little bit, because it is okay to be nice. You could drill down into the specifics of what's really going on, those attitudes that you're feeling, and where they've come from, and maybe what you want to know about it. And you could model or adopt a different behavior. And with that, you start to understand that not all things are the way that we see them. Because, somebody who may have had that situation like you're talking about, I think that was a client you actually worked with. She would probably, if I'm not mistaken, probably had a few names that she called her husband.
That's right.
Yeah. So
lazy,
well,
distracted, priorities aren't in order.
Those are nominalizations. So what a nominalization is it's a label that you put on something that doesn't give a specific detailed meaning to it. And so you can't do anything with a nominalization. You can't take lazy and beat it over the head. You can't take lazy and stick it in a refrigerator. You can't take selfish and give it a timeout, right? So what about learning a different behavior, modeling a different behavior, breaking down the nominalizations, and getting back into a continual mode of experimentation? And that's where NLP really gets exciting, because it takes the unconscious side of, say, Milton Erickson, and he was skilled at getting results by being artfully vague with the conscious use of language. And, well, have you ever been driving and you notice that you started to drift off into thought? And when you realize it, you just realize that you passed 15 miles and 10 exits, and now you're at your exit, and suddenly you came out of thought, and at just the right time to notice your exit and get home. Or maybe you stayed so deep in thought that you went right past that exit. Well, that's actually a form of hypnosis, and that's where using ambiguities in our language can allow people to relax and maybe sort the things out that they needed to sort out. And so with the work of Virginia Satir and Milton Erickson, Richard Bandler, and Mr. Grinder, who were computer programmers, by the way, they wanted to know if there was a methodology that they could put together that would allow people to do things that they'd never done before. And that's where the techniques of NLP come in. Stockton and I love NLP for the use of its language, how to better understand that, because, well, for me, it's all about communication. To me, there's nothing more important than communication in a relationship, whether it's business or personal, and getting to the root of things. And while there's techniques available in NLP that allow you to make quick changes to a person's neurology behaviors, adapt new behaviors, get rid of ones that they didn't like, and really change their model of the world. It all comes down to understanding first the way that they see the world, the way that they hear the world, the way that they feel and experience and smell and taste that world. Stockton, anything to close with?
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. And NLP, it leaves behind a trail of techniques. That's what we um, have been certified and educated in, and that's what we do here at ABC NLP Mastery. Is we teach the techniques. They are kind of the techniques that take you from, hey, I'm stuck with this loneliness and this sadness. How do I get rid of it? How do I produce a new behavior? So that brings about techniques like timeline therapy. Aaron and I are both certified hypnotists, and NLP and coaching. So a lot of these techniques are designed to make the changes, but they come from the ideology or the methodology and really the attitude, excuse me, the attitude and curiosity of NLP.
Well, let's just say that for a moment, because we want to bring this into reality for people. Let's just say for a moment that you were in communication with someone who was, stuck in a behavior or an emotion in their life, and you didn't have time to pull out your energy code, or maybe it wasn't conducive to the environment. What if you had a way that you could just speak to somebody and change the way that they feel? And that's what NLP is all about. It's about having another tool in your basket to affect positive change in the world and in the environment around us. There's lots of things that we can teach with timeline therapy, and that gets pretty deep. And then the conscious use of hypnosis, and that can get pretty deep. And I don't want to talk about people's negative emotions here. There's quick ways to release that with things like emotion code and body code. And if you noticed, that's why we've got Inside Out Institute up there behind us, because we're partnered with them. We're currently the only NLP training company associated with the Inside Out Institute. And we love what they're doing, and we're part of it. Stockton and I participate as transformational coaches, and utilizing the skills of our language mastery to affect transformational change with our clients. And we use those emotion code, body code practitioners to quickly and effectively extract negative emotions that have been holding people back. So by bringing those two together, you can get a rapid acceleration in someone's personal development. But coming back to NLP, why NLP and what is it? Well, it's having another tool to become the best version of yourself.
That's right. And we hope you all join us on our journey. We're going to talk more in depth about a lot of these topics. And we're going to really paint a picture for you, the attitude of NLP. Hopefully, we want for all of our viewers to adopt the same curiosity and a willingness to experiment that we have, that NLP gives perspective on. So if you're listening, thanks for watching. We hope that you will continue to watch. Subscribe to us on YouTube and leave a like on our Facebook page if you're watching it there. We'll be posting at least once a week, probably sometimes two. So tune in for future podcasts, and we thank you for tuning in.
And if you'd like to become certified in NLP, timeline therapy, hypnosis, and certified as an NLP coach, we have those certifications available in practitioner, master practitioner, trainer, and speaking, and master trainer options. abcnlpmastery.com. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.